Fast, fast, fast. Hey guys, Paul Ronto here from Run Repeat, and today we're gonna check out the Hoka Rocket X. I'm super excited to get my hands on this shoe. I've been wanting this shoe for a while. We've only got a couple days till it drops in early November, so I'm gonna try to get this review out to you before then. But what is this? This is Hoka's lightest running platform ever made. It's their race shoe. It's super lightweight, super fast, super responsive. It's got a carbon plate. It's got plenty of cushioning underfoot. It's got a soft ride. It's pretty fantastic. Let's dive right into the review. Before we get started, make sure you head on over to RunRepeat.com. Check out the Rocket X. There's a ton of facts and stats and all the technical information over there that I won't cover necessarily in this review. So please check that out. There's user reviews, there's links to retailers. All the extra information that you need is over on RunRepeat.com. Also, please hit the like button below, hit the subscribe button so you're alerted on the next review. It really helps us continue to do these reviews, helps our channel. We really appreciate it. First off, I always like to talk about the updates. Ultimately, the Rocket X is a new shoe for Hoka. It's kind of a progression of the Carbon X, but it's lighter, it's a little bit narrower underfoot, it's got a little bit lower stack height. So really, ultimately, it's its own shoe. So we're gonna talk about it as if this is a brand new shoe today. First thing I noticed about this is it fits actually pretty awesome for a race shoe. Like I've said in my other reviews, I've got a slightly wider foot, and this shoe actually accommodated it pretty well. Other race shoes that I've tested this year, like the Hyperion Elite, they're a little bit too narrow up front. The Hoka actually is on a slightly wider platform, and I like that. With that being said, it was a little tight right on the forefoot, just a touch, but it broke in nicely. After a few runs, I did not feel that on the forefoot. One concern though is this is a unisex sizing shoe, so people with really narrow feet or really wide feet might have an issue with the sizing on this shoe, but for me, it felt great. I really dig it. I think people with the standard D width are gonna have a fine fit on it. I think people with a slightly wider foot can wear it. It's just those extremes on either end of super wide or super narrow that might have an issue. I did have a little bit of heel slip with this, nothing major. I was able to solve it with some heel lacing. I think it's mainly because the heel counter on racing flats, you normally have a pretty soft heel counter. If you look at the Hyperion again, super soft. This one is pretty stiff, about halfway up, and then halfway for the other second half, it is pretty soft. So it's kind of an in-between, not good or bad in my opinion. I think most people will like that because it feels more like a regular running shoe than a race shoe, but I did have a tiny bit of heel slip. As for lockdown over the midfoot, it had great lockdown. I like this upper. It's super airy and breathable. It's mesh. It's not super flexible, so you get nice lockdown out of it. It's got a gusseted tongue, which I really like about that. Most Hokas have a gusseted tongue, but on this one, the gussets are made out of a stretchy material, which I really dig, so you can kind of move the tongue around to where you want it to be. Those stretchy gussets do help with the midfoot lockdown. I think they've done a good job on this. Hoka's been a little inconsistent this year on what materials they've used for that gusset. Some are not stretchy at all. Some are super stretchy. I really like what they've done on the Rocket X. Lastly, laces, super soft, super lightweight, nothing fancy here. Grip really nicely over the top of your foot. I didn't feel them getting loose at all over my runs. They stay tight. Good choice on the laces, Hoka. Okay, let's move on to comfort. Honestly, this is a really comfortable race shoe. I'm pretty surprised. Now, first off, it's not the Clifton 7. It's not a super soft padded recovery shoe, but for a race shoe, it's got plenty of cushioning underfoot. It's nice and soft landing. It has a nice rocker so that the transitions feel nice and smooth. The carbon plate in it feels like it has a nice smooth transition. Ultimately, really comfortable, smooth ride on the Rocket X. I think if you're switching over from a regular running shoe to a race shoe, this really feels more like your standard running shoe or training shoe, but with that added energy efficiency of the carbon plate. One gripe I do have is it feels a tiny bit unstable. The midsole is a little narrow in the forefoot and in the heel. It's kind of anti-Hoka. It doesn't have that super wide, confidence-inspiring midsole. You know, when I compare it to the Hyperion Elite, you can see that there's almost a ½ inch extra on the Hyperion Elite, both in the heel and the forefoot. So although the stack height is a little lower in the Rocket X, it is a little bit narrower underfoot. I noticed it when I was trying to turn. I noticed it on terrain that was slightly uneven. Not a huge issue, but it's something you might notice. Love the upper on this shoe, super breathable, super comfortable. Can see a ton of light through it when you do the light test. Really think they knocked it out of the park with the upper. As for the tongue, I think they did a good job on the tongue as well. It's lightly padded. It's got this nice sewn edge on it. It really forms to the top of your foot well. I think they did just a great job on the upper design of the Rocket X. One thing I have to talk about is obviously the carbon plate. Comfort-wise, it feels great. It's super responsive, but it's not overly bouncy. I love that. Instead of going to like a hydrogen-infused midsole, they stuck with an EVA. Don't fix what's not broke. I think Hoka is really onto something here. It feels great underfoot, not overly sprung, if that makes sense. Lastly, one small gripe is the insole. Not a big one, but it's really flimsy, lightweight, almost nothing insole. I would say if you want a little extra comfort out of this shoe, put in a more padded insole. Again, tiny little gripe. Okay, let's talk about weight. It feels super lightweight the second you take it out of the box. On your foot, it feels lightweight. 7.6, 7.62 ounces if we want to get really picky. Fantastic. You know, Brooks Hyperion Elite, 1/10 of an ounce lighter, but I had some fit issues with this. Barring no fit issues, I think they've done a really good job on keeping this shoe extremely light, especially with an EVA midsole that kind of tempers the carbon plate. It's not hydrogen infused. I really like what they've done on weight on this shoe. Drop stack, 5mm drop, 30mm in the heel, which is lower than some of the others in this category. But I like that. It kind of brings you a little bit lower to the ground. And I think they needed to do that again because it's a narrower platform. If you had any more stack in it, you might feel even more instability than I already do. Okay, durability. It's a race shoe. I think it's built well. The upper looks great, obviously. The midsole, it's a compression molded EVA midsole, so I think it's gonna last the distance. Where my problem is the outsole. Obviously, as a racing flat, there's not gonna be a ton of rubber on the outsole, but there is really not a lot of rubber. It's just the yellow patches on the bottom. The rest of it is this EVA foam. And so I think you are gonna wear that down fairly quickly. This might get 150, 200 miles, which is good for a race shoe. But I think this is kind of a break it in and then put it back in the closet and only pull it out on race day type of shoe. Looks, I love how this shoe looks. I think they did an absolutely fantastic job. They knocked it out of the park. It doesn't look like a race shoe. It doesn't look like some of the funky things you're seeing out there from some of the other brands. I think it looks really sharp. The colors are great. White obviously gets dirty really quick, but I really dig what they did with the looks. Also, you can get this race shoe in 3 colorways, which is awesome because most race shoes come in 1 colorway, so you're stuck with it. But this blue, the yellow stripe, the white outsole, the yellow on the outsole, I'm digging it big time. Price, we gotta talk about price, $180. This is the best priced race shoe on the market, period, hands down. I'm blown away. They've done a great job. The Hyperion Elite, $250, the Nikes, more than that. A lot of these race carbon plated shoes are breaking the $200 mark for sure. The Carbon X and the Carbon X2, $200. I think Hoka has an absolute winner here at $180. I think Hoka did an amazing job here. It feels great, it runs great, it's high performing, it's lightweight, it fits well, and it's under $200 with a carbon plate. Hoka's knocking it out of the park here. There's lots of cushioning, it transitions well, it feels more like an everyday trainer, but it performs like a race shoe. I think this might be the best race shoe of 2020 with everything we've talked about, and especially that price point at $180. Hoka, well done. You sold me on the Rocket X. Question of the day, are you looking for a carbon shoe? How important is that in your next shoe purchase? Comment below, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Anyway, thanks again, guys. I really appreciate it. Come back, watch the next review, leave your comments below, and remember, go do, be, run, repeat.